right. Hello and welcome, everyone. My name is Samir Thadani. I'm a senior manager of solutions engineering at Deloitte, and I'm very happy to be here today to host today's panel on the modern SOC. Before we get into it, I just want to set a little bit of context, right? As the cyber landscape is changing, as alerts are starting to become more plentiful, data sources more aggregated, organizations are starting to think about what SOC transformation really is and what that looks like for their organization. Before we get into this a little bit further, I'd like to pass it over to my esteemed panelists here for a quick intro.
Hi, thanks for joining us on the last session of the day. My name is Kevin Flanagan. I lead our domain consultants for SOC transformation and cloud security at Palo Alto Networks. I've been in cybersecurity for well over 25 years and 30 plus years of just seeing things evolve over time. So happy to share what I've learned and what I'm seeing out there today. And I'll pass it over to Kent.
All right. Thanks, Kevin. Kent Meyer, I'm a managing director at Deloitte. I lead a lot of our security operations centers work, both design, delivery, and transformation, primarily focused on our federal clients, but we work collaboratively with our commercial teams to pull best practices and really help all of our clients transform and get the most out of their security operations centers.
Thank you, Kevin and Kent. Thanks for being here today. And so let's go ahead and dig into it, right? Big topic at hand is security transformation and SOC transformation. What are some of the challenges that you're hearing clients talk about as they look to move down this journey of SOC transformation and SOC modernization?
Multiple different points that we're seeing from SOC transformation. One is just the expansion of infrastructure in most organizations. So you already have cloud, you already have endpoints globally dispersed in most organizations, not to mention traditional infrastructure that's out there today. But then you pile on the fact that organizations are looking to take advantage of all these new services and capabilities, things like AI. Everybody has an AI project today. That's a whole new set of applications, models, agents that you're adding that add complexity. So the complexity of the infrastructure is a challenge as we see most organizations try to adjust how they've traditionally done security operations. And then the flip side of that is the people actually responding to events. I've had SOC directors tell me, Kevin, we could add 10, 15 more people to our SOC team and there'd still be plenty of alerts to go around. So what's leading to SOC transformation is I've been doing SIEM, SOC transformation, if you want to call it, or just SOC infrastructure for well over 13 years. And it used to just be, how do we get data into a data store? And then we can start to put alerts and rules around it to get people eyes on glass to respond. I think today we need to expand that to how can we leverage all the great capabilities to move beyond just the traditional SIEM as the cornerstone of the SOC and really add AI, automation, and other capabilities to not replace the people, but augment people in making better decisions and not having to go through many systems to do research, to do investigations, or even to document what they're seeing inside of the SOC. Back when I've seen more primitive SOCs out there, they spend 50% of their time updating ServiceNow tickets and updating tickets. The work that they do itself should be self-documenting. So what can we do to not only look at how we leverage all the AI and capabilities on the ingest side and the rules to make that easier, but what we can do to better improve people as they do respond to events. So Ken, I don't know if you have anything on top of that.
Yeah, Kevin hit on a lot of the points on the demand for the change. We're really at a point to where you look at next gen SOCs or next gen anything. We've kind of worked ourselves into a data problem because of AI and advancing threat actors and use cases that are out there. So if you approach security operations from a data-centric problem, do I have the right data? Can I make decisions on this? That really drives what our clients are asking for. And you'll typically hear, my SIEM is too expensive, or I'm not getting any value out of this. I don't know what the SOC is doing. Can you make it cheaper? This really comes into a value discussion of, is the SOC focused on the right things? And are you essentially just not triaging and managing your data properly? With especially with AI and the transformation and impact that it's going to have, it's really driving almost everyone to relook how they approach the SOC.
So kind of building on top of that, when you're speaking to clients and you're talking about SOC transformation, what does that look like in a practical sense for them?
Yeah, it's a great question, Samir. As I was talking with one of our clients, it's a state client that runs a state SOC on, what does your career path look like? What is the SOC of the future look like with an impact of AI? I will tell you there's a ton of marketing out there that is advocating that agentic agents will replace SOC analysts. They'll do everything for you. I would, from my point of view, just dealing with this day in and day out, in a small business, they might be able to afford a really limited use case to outsource everything and have agentic agents do this. I'll talk on why that's really a bad idea. But what I see is the SOC really isn't going to change fundamentally in investigating alerts, doing incident response, threat intel, hunt, insider threat, all of these capabilities in the engineering that's out there. But as Kevin mentioned, AI is going to enhance and augment our staff to really work on more complex things and then validate what AI is presenting to them, where AI and automation, and I think that's really where AI can enable automation at scale. It allows the analyst to say, yes, this makes sense. I don't spend 30 minutes collecting data to determine if this is a threat, and I don't have to do an IP lookup or a system lookup to understand if this is one of my critical assets. It can be presented in front of them, and then they can handle 5, 10, 50 of these very, very quickly to say false positive or not, and rely on those machines. So it's the enhancement of the ability to handle scale is really important, because attackers and AI, or attackers especially leveraging AI, are increasing the amount of attacks that they can launch and how quickly they can launch their attacks. The attacks aren't changing. Still, it's exploiting vulnerabilities or using stolen credentials to break into the network. Once you're on the network, then they can pivot. What it requires is for the SOC analysts to, in the SOC, to respond to something quicker. We're going to have tools that can help block them, but as those who've worked in it, I can get around any tool. It's really, really easy to get around tools, even the greatest tools in the world. I can circumvent them. But that drives the need to say, hey, I need more data, I need to watch the wire, I need to watch the applications, and we're back into the data problem. You can't throw all of your data into a SIEM. You can, if everybody has a really large budget. I don't. None of my clients do. So that's where we get to a data management solution. That SOC transformation is really looking to, one, put data management in place, which is really why Cribl is one of the forefront leaders in the technology to stream and manage data. It's identifying there may be a use case for all of this data we're going to collect. Security is great at saying, I want all of your data. What do you want to do with it? I don't know. Just give me all your data. Put it in a data lake, store it there, and then use an advanced analytics platform, a SIEM, a next-gen SIEM, anything else that can query the data, and then do those advanced analytics. The SIEM is still necessary for correlation. It's necessary for visualization. It's necessary to do the really hard things, the art form of what people think. So it just really transforms and allows us to take the next step. If you look at a SOC maturity curve, everything is going into SOAR and threat hunt, threat intel, continuous exposure management, AI. How do you apply all of those things? All of those things need good quality data, but you also need to transform them and transform your processes as they work through it.
And to build on that, I mean, the question was what does SOC transformation look like? And it's not necessarily taking a data store or a SIEM that you used to have, where you used to throw all your security, threat, identity data into, and just replacing that data store, right? That makes no sense. SOC transformation, to do it properly, is going to change the way people do their jobs. And I think that's the biggest thing that people need to understand. Successful SOC transformation, and I think that's the buzzword. If you're keeping count of how many times we said that a lot. It's changing the way we do things to drive down certain metrics that we look for protecting our business. And if you just want to swap out the underlying tech stack that you run your SOC on, that's not SOC transformation. Organizations build their SOC traditionally on things like detection engineering, teams that all they do is look at data ingestion, and how do we get the latest data source in. That in my mind is plumbing. It takes away from the ability to leverage automation, leverage machine learning, artificial intelligence to do some of that kind of plumbing, crawling kind of work. Take that out of the way so that people can actually do their jobs, to actually look, get eyes on glass when an incident happens, identify root cause as fast as possible. And when we go to something like SOC transformation, that means if you have an army of people building correlation rules and doing detection engineering, you don't need that as much anymore, right? The solution that you use and the teams and the learning that you have should make that a lot easier. I make it a comparison to back in the day, 15 years ago, we used to live and die in the IDS world based on snort signatures, right? We had libraries of snort signatures, we'd throw them out on our IDS. We don't do that as much anymore. Yes, we get a critical when we have to do something about it, but today, inside of a SOC, I feel that detection engineering and correlation rules need to start to go the way of snort signatures, right? Something that can be automated, something that learns and is dynamic, not something that you have to keep maintaining and constantly adjusting based on new vectors. So people are going to have to change the way that they do SOC today as you go into SOC transformation. They're not going to be replaced. They're just going to do more meaningful work.
Now, I appreciate that perspective, and kind of digging into the AI and automation piece a little bit more. As you're speaking to clients around these additional capabilities that they may not be taking advantage of today, are there any hurdles or any common challenges you see, any sort of pushback that you may see around these new capabilities with AI and automation?
There's a couple. Number one is the thought that AI is going to replace the SOC analyst, and I think we said, no, it's not, right? People do make mistakes, right? And people we're good at using reasoning and understanding how things work and being able to identify, phishing emails, zero-day attacks, reverse engineer malware, etc. But we make mistakes in doing that. The same thing though on AI happens too. AI gets biases. The data sets can get it fixated on one way of doing things and learning and not learning the way it should from a machine perspective. So you got both ends where people are not perfect, but AI can become imperfect very quickly. And I think the intersection of where you get the most efficiency out of AI to allow people to make good decisions with all the data, but then allow AI to do some of the menial work is where you find that great cross intersection between where you can get the value out of leveraging artificial intelligence. And that's one thing that I think about when we talk about how people are concerned about AI. The other aspect is the black box aspect of it, right? If you've got machine learning going on, I don't understand how it identifies and with a high degree of fidelity identifies things, and concerns over false negatives, right? Maybe you are missing a lot of stuff, so I gotta see how that thing works. And sometimes AI and machine learning doesn't publish its rules. So there's a concern about that as you go to SOC transformation. Those are some of the areas that I look at. And the other thing when we talk about AI, it's not just throw stuff in a data lake or a data set and then apply language or LLMs on top of that and throw agents in front of the LLMs. Applying AI in every aspect of what you do. So data ingest, when you look at 10 to 15 different data sources that all talk differently, they use different fields, they maybe structure usernames differently and identities differently. It's a perfect way for us to leverage not only on that data set, a normalization of data and stitching data together, but if you can do that on ingestion, like as you're ingesting the data, normalize it, stitch it, apply ML models to maybe create stories across 6 or 7 data sources to say, this is exactly how this user traversed my infrastructure, or this is exactly how what looks like an IP address, switched IP addresses, but because I can tell based on machine learning and models and behaviors how something worked, that helps really drive in the efficacy of the SOC transformation and your security operation model. So Ken, I don't know if you've probably got some other perspectives that you can add on top of that.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. I think to start, everybody wants, businesses are, and a lot of leadership are advocating, I want AI to make the SOC cheaper, faster, better. Choose your adjectives there. When you say, okay, here's an AI for you to consume, then it's like, oh wait, that's cloud-based. No, I need to control this. The big thing around AI is only as good as the data that it owns. Ironically, we're back to a data problem because the SOC and SOC transformation is all, it's all unmasking of we have a data problem. So where does the AI live? This is going to cost you more resourcing around AI. Where is the data? Do I still control my own data? That's probably the biggest fundamentals of using AI now is making sure that it has proper guardrails in place and that the data is still retained, especially in security operations because it's typically some of the most viewed as some of the most sensitive data within the company. You add on to that, now the AI is going to start generating more data. But now you have a new tool and a new capability that moves at very, very rapid, very quick speeds. This is going to cause new vulnerabilities, new processes that the SOC is now responsible to monitor and secure. But they don't necessarily know what those attacks look like because they continue to evolve. So the SOC is not only having to leverage AI to do the work, they now have to understand, and you have to bring in the experts and grow that expertise of what does an AI attack look like? Am I doing prompt injection? Have I just deployed a model that's already corrupted? There are thousands of models available. You can download a new model, deploy it out there. It will function perfectly well, just like it's designed to, and give you a bonus gift of adding malware or having a malicious action that's out there. I think those are some of the challenges that as more AI is coming out, and it's a resource issue, it's a new people problem getting skilled to use it, but it's also a process change of how do I handle AI attacks? When do we recommend that we take an AI offline or get the model updated? But it's also, it's really that challenge of, it's a little bit of the Wild West because AI is out there now and the SOC is not monitoring most of those. And having suites to understand and protect AI. I mean, Palo's made some great announcements with AIRS and Protect AI. If you haven't seen a couple of those, there's a number that are out there. We need tools to be able to monitor and secure those AI models, just like we would do with people.
I appreciate that perspective, and it sounds like there's a number of pieces there, right? A number of challenges, but a lot of that revolves around the education piece, right? Yep. Making sure that people are informed around what tools are there, what capabilities are there, how those capabilities work and could potentially affect the organization. So kind of moving past those hurdles and challenges, once an organization is bought into this idea of SOC transformation, how do they measure against that? Like, what should they be looking at? What sort of metrics come into play to showcase that this is worth the investment and the time?
Yeah, I can take that as a start. I think really SOCs today will still measure a lot with SLAs, 99% uptime or response rate or capabilities. It's moving more into objective-based outcomes or OKRs. Mean time to detect, mean time to respond. Those are the standards. Mean time to isolate or remediate. These are actions that are really, really hard to put your finger on and measure. And AI and the capabilities, when you allow them, when you have the right guardrails in place and you're segmenting the roles properly, when you allow them to do what they do the best, they are able to drive isolation and remediation down to minutes, if not hours. I think the fastest breakout time for an AI right now is about 5 to 6 minutes. So that should frighten everybody. In a traditional SIEM, if you're pulling in data, there's typically a 15-minute lag time to ingest the data in. I don't really care your platform unless you're doing live inline analytics. You're not going to generate alert potentially for 10 minutes after there has been a breakout on an infection. So the machine speed and the capabilities to respond to that and then report out on those metrics. The other items are you want to be able to show the value of those agents. It's really cost. Look at it as a cost deferment. It's like you'll see it with SOAR, how many hours have I saved in this capability? Other metrics you're going to look at are how quickly can you onboard and maintain data? If it's a 2-week process, can you get it down to 2 hours? How quickly can you generate playbooks? The capability to do a SOAR, we'll do a SOAR sprint. It usually takes 2 weeks. Just standard software development methodology. There are tools out there today that can do it in like 20 minutes to generate a SOAR playbook that allows you to gain a capacity of doing 4 or 5 a month to 10 to 20. And it's really that response reaction time. And then ideally, if you can get to, and some of the golden rings are self-healing networks or recovery time, how quickly you can drive down that recovery time to isolate. And the last thing I would say is, this is the one we typically miss is, because SOCs, I make akin that SOCs are like insurance. They're not a cost center. They're something you have to have when something bad happens to be there. You need to show, and you're able to show more readily how many attacks that you're having, and you can see what your baseline is going through and how much you're defending on it. That allows the SOC to articulate their value to the businesses and to the executives much better.
Yeah, Kent, you hit it. I mean, the main primary, and we've seen it all when we talk to security operations centers. Some just have it because they need to have a SOC and are looking to us for metrics. Well, then we have some that are much more highly sophisticated, using legacy SIEM infrastructure, doing some automation, but not to the extent that they're leveraging AI in their automation tools, and then just doing disparate ingestion of different data sources without any sort of pipeline management for that ingest. And they'll come to us and just wanting to get better, right? And the metric that they have is typically mean time to detect, mean time to respond, as well as the number of people in the SOC, right? Any security control or team, as much as we'd love to go after that North Star, we've enabled a business to make more money. Let's just be straight, right? We're a cost center, right? What we can do is, okay, how are we reducing the cost of something that you need to have? And a byproduct of that should be reducing the risk, right? So how do you show that you've reduced risk while meanwhile not increasing the cost of your security operations center significantly? And the way you do that is maximize the return on investment of the people, while you're getting that lower mean time to detect and mean time to respond. So as your business grows, as the number of applications and AIs you add, and AI agents out there, and the number of remote offices that you bring on, and the number of users that get added to your organization, how can you show that the number of people that you've added to protect that infrastructure has not grown at the same rate? And the way you do that, and that's where SOC transformation comes in, is the ability to apply automation, the ability to scale this thing to be able to achieve better results like mean time to detect, mean time to respond. One example is we had a large insurance organization here in the US, one of the largest ones we have, that it's probably a household name to most people out there. When they were looking at their mean time to detect, it was actually not bad at all. It was probably about 30 minutes in the mean time to detect, mean time to respond. But they were measuring in about, 45 to 50 minutes. We were able to get that down, mean time to detect, in like 2 minutes, get the mean time to respond down to 7 or 8 minutes. That was their goal. They want that under 10 minutes in the mean time to respond, to get eyes on glass for any critical incident that they see in their organization. And by applying automation, providing a single set of data that gets ingested, gets normalized, gets stitched together, and fused with threat data at the same time to help them make better high-fidelity decisions and make sure that they automate and get the right people to identify and respond to these attacks, was critical. And then also leveraging automation to pull as much data from various different tools to augment those people. Not only shrunk their MTTD, MTTR, but also allow them to keep their headcount at the same level. And then get that headcount not just doing eyes on glass incident response and SOC work, but also doing more proactive things like threat hunting and doing these threat hunts and turning those into playbooks that help make the SOC even more efficient. And those are some of the gains that you can get as you start to look at, hey, if I gotta, get off Splunk or get off whatever legacy SIEM I've been using, how can I use that as a catalyst to get better business benefits out of it?
No, I appreciate that perspective, and I think you hit on a lot there. I'd like to maybe, as a final question, and then I'll pass it to you for some closing statements. As organizations are interested in measuring this value through all these different metrics, they may get a little confused and honestly a little bit frozen in what is the next step, right? So from a methodological perspective, as an organization that's looking at SOC modernization, what are some of the first steps that they should be taking to move forward?
Yeah, I'll say it again. In the SOC transformation, your SOC modernization, start with your data. You are really experiencing a data problem, whether you're trying to defend, you have a cyber data lake and there are 5 other data lakes. Start with data management. Get your data under control, which is, this is why we're all here today is Cribl is the leader in the space to do that. Once you get your data under control, then you've got clean data, you can do things with it, you can send it wherever you want, so you get management. And then you can decouple yourself away from your tools and technology, which is huge because it gives all of our clients the freedom to make the decision that, hey, maybe my tech is still good and I just fixed my problem and now it's performing well. Or it allows them to try different scenarios and different events. And once you've gotten the data under control, the SOC is actually meant to produce a function and protect an organization, but it feeds in so many other areas of not just people and careers, but in governance and compliance. It makes reporting so much easier to do and allows the operators, the engineers to operate and run their tools and not get bogged down in all the other requests. So the first thing they do is get control of your data and decouple yourself off of your technology stack to give yourself the freedom and the control over your environment.
Data's where it's at. All right. Any closing statements in terms of SOC modernization and transformation?
I think the first step when we talk to customers starts at the top level. What is the data you're using to measure the effectiveness of your security operations center? What's the value that the security operations center brings to the organization? So if I'm a SOC director, what are my metrics? And are they good enough for what I need to do in order to give back to that business? I work for Palo Alto Networks, we're a technology company, but it's got to start with the people and the process and the business outcomes that we're trying to achieve as we engage with customers. And if you can say that, hey, my MTTD, MTTR, it's in line with industry standards, we're fine, God bless you, keep going. Usually they're not. So then we work back. What's inhibiting us from getting this done? Is it a process issue? Is it a people issue? Is it a data issue? Then from there, let's figure out what do we need to do to potentially change the way that we ingest data, change the way we automate response, change the way we pull in threats, maybe even the way we organize our SOC. And that's what we do as part of a SOC transformation workshop, is every organization's SOC is in a different place in their journey. They have different technology, they have different business outcomes they're trying to achieve, and they have different people. First thing we want to understand is how is the SOC providing value to the business, then work our way down to that, and what do we need to do from not only the technology perspective, but the people and the process perspective, and then let's figure out what those next steps are. Sometimes you don't have to change, right? But usually organizations do. The way that they're built, in terms of the people, the process, especially the technology, there's always room for optimization. We'd love to be able to help sit down, do a workshop with anybody, and just align to what is the business outcomes you're trying to get to, and how can we help you get there?
There's some thoughtfulness that needs to be put into this, for sure. All right, we're just about here at time. I'd like to thank both our panelists here, Kent and Kevin. If you would just give them a round of applause.
Thanks, Samir.
Yep. And thank you all for joining us. I know it's pretty late here at CriblCon, rounding us out and having to go back to the DMV traffic. Thanks for staying. Yeah, thanks for staying. And have a good evening.
Yeah, while we're wrapping up, if there are any questions, you can hit us here or we'll hang out. So please.
Yeah.